And Mike's right there.
Mike's right there.
Mike, I don't know if you can hear me, this is Mark Casey. I am going to we have a, some sheets in front of us.
Yeah, that's the PowerPoint that you sent me by email, Mike.
Do you want me to just go on, Mark?
Is there any way we can see it up there?
It should be, is it?
Maybe turn it up.
I can- I can share if you don't want, if you want me to share, I can share that on the overhead.
Yeah. It's up to you.
Yeah.
There you go. Is it coming on?
Yep,
Yeah,
yeah, now we got it.
now we got it. All right, Mike, the floor is yours.
Okay, I just have to get into my go. So, basically, Apex has been working close with Luke and Jackie from Agenza. We have been discussing with all three of us, although not all on the phone at once, along with administration. We were looking at about $1,548,000 project, as you could see up front here on this slide, just as a reminder of the total cost of project. From what I understand, talking with Greg, who I believe is in the audience, that this will commence with about $165,000 worth of savings the first year. And that savings is projected to increase at a minimum of 3% a year. And this is true operational savings by doing this set of controls. My understanding after talking with Luke and Jackie on the road before and then followed it up with Apex is that most or all of these controls will at one point in time in the near future need to be redone. And you know, as you know, when you're in construction mode and you have walls opened and all the stuff that and we had a rather large list of needs that wasn't part of the referendum, that you're kind of looking at this one of two ways. In my mind, you're looking at, hey, can we fund this within the dollars set aside for the referendum plus investment earnings? Or do we look at possibly financing this outside using basically the savings from the energy to repay off this 1.5 million? So we're going to concentrate on the borrowing mechanism for this, whip you through these 10 slides and hopefully answer any questions you might have. Does that sound good, gang?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically outlined on this particular slide is we have something called a general obligation cap facility bonds. And basically you're borrowing from yourself through the designated amount of operating capital you get each year. This is the less risky investment for somebody purchasing a Chisholm bond because it's general obligation. You not only get to use your underlying rating, but also the Minnesota Credit Enhanced. And we're looking at a 15-year borrowing with about a 0.5% contingency in it, I believe right now is at a 397. If you were doing a true guaranteed savings lease, we do that through certificate of participation. You'd be borrowed against a general fund. Investor security is not the full faith and credit in the district in case something happened, like, hey, as you were discussing before, major water problems, flooding, tornado, what have you. You would be on the hook for making payments or not committing to that in a year where you couldn't make the payment. And then, so that's that would be at a 425 for that 15 years. So, we look at that general obligation facility capital bonds, and you could see that this is just a definition reminding you of where we get the authority through the state of Minnesota. And see item number 2, the cost of energy modifications is one of the major sections this is allowed to, it's meant to finance with school board authority. So some observation or highlights of a GeoCap facility bonds. Yes, this is an additional borrowing. However, there's no change on the overall dollars that the
Laura
tax.
sent a message. I can't read to you, Ray, and Jennifer.
My vehicle just took over, guys. I apologize. My 82-year-old mother is texting. That's going to be fun when this keeps up. But God bless her. Anyway, the source of payment collected is from the certified levy. You collect these dollars in combination with state aid every year. You would just be borrowing from yourself to pay this. So there's no change to most of your taxpayers, even though you'd have an additional borrowing out. The change would be to those folks that own the timber and ag properties in your district. They'll receive a 70% credit on this bond payment. So it might lower their per acre costs. I wouldn't even begin to say, but it would lower it just a few dollars. Okay, the dollar amount the levy is still the same. You just get it from the rest of us taxpayers of Minnesota folks. So they'll get a slight break on their tax statement. This one, I know there's a lot of information on here, but and I said 50.5%. We're probably 45 basis points to the good right now. And when we put this together for you, we were 0.25% higher. And we've had 2.5 good weeks of market slowing down in the interest rate range. So that's why I said 0.5% earlier, even though this demarquee says 0.25% in the lower right. So we'd be looking at borrowing $1,548,000, and you could see that it would cost $2,052,000 over time and to make this payment, and we would be delivering these bonds for this project around October. Is how we have this put together. The reason the timing of this or getting this in front of you to make a decision is we'd want to get this in the summer levy program that opens up in a couple of weeks. So that's complicated. Hopefully you receive about $179,000 in your operating capital account. And so our payments are put together to reflect receiving that money in. On the far right-hand side, you can see how that it's part of your 40-page report of your levy limitation certification report. You can see how the $179,000 is being utilized. Now, you already utilize these dollars, folks, to the nth degree. You already spend $179,000 on it could be transportation, it could be supplies, it could be textbooks, it could be technology. We realize you're already doing that. What this allows is it would provide the energy. This would allow us to use this levy to pay back the bonds, and the energy savings would then come into the general fund. And that energy savings, as you follow that green checkerboard up, are going to surpass the payment on the bonds. And so those dollars would then get put directly into the general fund. So those dollars can be used for the same supplies, textbooks, whatever. We're really not taking away anything from the available dollars that you have in there. But hopefully this graph helps a little bit. As far as you can see, the bond levy would be in the blue, and we're not depending on how to finance this. We can only collect what you're getting in the operating capital account. And because that's slightly higher than the revenue you get for operating capital, we then those energy savings would go right into the general fund where they have the greatest ease to be spent for however the district administration recommends and the board so chooses to do. Basically, in a box, bam, taxpayer levy normally goes in the operating capital account. The operating capital account here, in this case, would make the bond payment. The savings from the project would go into the general fund, and then the general fund would make those former operating capital revenue payments. And that is as quick as I can do a 10 slide presentation and I am looking forward to any questions you might have. Once again, I'm going to come back to right now. You are looking at a budget for your, as I understand, for the elected bonds that has some extra dollars attached. When Mark and I talked about how to maximize those dollars and how you could put it to the project, obviously we coupled that with this idea of, hey, if we can do these controls and get them paid for over time, and they save us additional dollars while we're in the walls, maybe we can maximize the amount of bond proceeds left to be able to finish off a few other projects in addition to getting this done. Or you could choose to say, hey, boy, Michael, with everything going on around here, maybe we shouldn't do an additional borrowing. Like I said, the additional borrowing, it is an additional borrowing on paper, but the taxpayers aren't going to see basically a single difference, other than a few taxpayers will see a slight decrease in the property taxes from Chisholm Schools. So it's a real balancing act. And Bob, I see you kind of twist your head at me. And I like when I see that because I see that, hey, yeah, boy, Michael, I get it, that it's an additional borrowing, but if taxpayers aren't going to see a difference and we have to do this anyway, maybe this will help us maximize everything we can get, because we probably won't get another chance to go for some of the projects Mark and I talked about. You probably are going IRRB, you're probably asking for donations. You probably aren't going back to the taxpayers for another decade or so. So that's why we thought we should lay out the two options of borrowing, plus say, hey, we realize this isn't the easiest decision is for the school board to make, but at least now you have a little bit more facts.
So Mike, the reason you saw me tilting my head is that you've answered my questions. So basically what I see here from a plain old bottom line thing is we are borrowing from our capital fund to pay the bond.
Yep.
That's it. And our
And then you're
capital fund,
getting the operational savings to replenish the general fund. So you're not
yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And our friends at Apex are gonna write us 300 or 400 checks for $1 million each. I tease, he's sitting back there. I understand.
No, I know he
it more
is.
now. What concerned me is that, we just passed this bond, this huge thing. And I didn't want people coming to me saying, what are you doing again to us? What do you want more money from us for?
And that's where,
especially the ag people, the people
Yep.
out in Vulcan Township got pounded. And they're looking for a little relief, and we can give it to them with this.
correct. And we could actually have that calculated once we get farther into the summer levy program and get some tax base information from we could actually lay that out to people.
Yeah,
We know there was another round of assessments. I can't imagine Vulcan is going to get assessed like the rest of Minnesota for a third straight year, but I have taken my crystal ball and gotten rid of it when it comes to projecting reassessed values as of late.
okay. My questions are answered.
I was, when I first saw this, I was, as Mark knows, and Jackie and Luke and Greg, I was the first one to talk about, okay, well, can we fit it in? Is this the right thing? But with these energy saving levels, and you're going to have to do these right now. And when we've seen the cost, you're talking to the finance guy, and Luke, I hope, is probably shaking his head going, yeah, everything has seen inflationary hits the last several years. While you're in this construction project, it might be the best time to get as much done with the largest bang for your buck you can. And you may not get thanked now as your term sits on the board. You may not get thanked, in the next 5 years, but somebody down the line, 5, 10, 15 years from now is going to thank each and every one of you for getting this bond issue passed and doing the right thing with restructuring Chisholm schools.
So I'm correct in saying that this is not a voter-approved referendum, correct? Or bond issuance, correct?
This is a school
Straight
board
school board.
mechanism that's been put forth legislatively because they realize this is one of the hardest things to talk to your constituents to try to get a vote. So they've given you the authority to say, hey, we realize these are smart things to do, and we will let the local school board make that decision.
And you're estimating the savings to increase by 3% per year or 2%?
Apex,
On here you got 3, but I thought I heard you say 2%.
I believe if I did say 2%, I misstated that because it is 3%, is what, and Apex can talk to that if they're there. But yes, that's what's in the pro forma, I believe, and you wouldn't need that much money to pay back the bonds. You wouldn't need the 3% growth as we've got it structured. That's gravy to the general fund.
Well, with the net debt service increasing every year, I just want to make sure that 3% projected savings is going to cover our debt service.
Yeah, so
I mean,
I believe on that.
on paper, Apex is saying that we'll guarantee 151,000.
And 3% is, we actually have 3.5% in there because that's historically low if you look at utility rate escalations. Utility rate escalations are about more like 4 or 5%, so we're being conservative and we don't want to be aggressive and assume those are going to continue, so we picked 3.5, which is a very conservative number, which as Mike stated then, actually has you with substantial growth there, so you've got excess savings in the later years that are just contributing to your general fund.
Yeah, I think you've got the guaranteed utility savings of 150,000, and then you've got the additional operation and maintenance savings of another 14,851. So we started at 165,000, and that's usually how Greg has us put that information in. So we're starting at 165,000. You can only grow up to the amount of operating capital that you've got. So 165 flows up to 179, and then those annual payments taper off that 179,000 a year, where the savings will bypass that, hopefully.
Well, and I'll be honest with you that I'm not one to spend money that we already have, where we can pay for the project and then take our annual savings and drop it into some type of sinking fund where then we can use it for our other operational needs.
Absolutely, but I think, Mark, if you'd roll back 2 to 3 years, I think we had $7 to $30 some million that were not part of the referendum that may be considered needs, and those may range from transportation to ball fields to storage to you name it. And that's where being able to free up a little over $1 million for one of those projects, that's where I can absolutely empathize with what you're saying and would be right there with you. However, you only get one shot to do these other projects, and that's where it's like, this is interesting concept, and it's something that bears at least looking at.
Board, any other questions? I know, Jackie, you just walked in, so I don't know if you've had the opportunity to go over this information. So if you have any other questions, we'll take a moment for you to take a look. And the 105% levy, Mike, that's what we have to levy additionally each year, correct?
Correct. You've got to do the over levy the first year and second year, and then the difference to reach that 105% level starts in the third year.
Okay.
So after the third year, that 5% really is non-existent. Let's assume that you're probably looking at 97, 98% collection rate. Your constituents. So you're probably collecting 4.5 of the 105, 104.5 of the 105%, which will then the state has a formula each year after you receive 2 years of audits. And this would be callable and you could pay it off, let's say you turned to somebody said, hey, I'd be willing to fund that energy modification. I want those bonds to get away and I'm going to donate $1 million. You could turn around and pay that off because they are callable.
Is there a penalty on the call?
Nope. It's just in our industry, that call date, not all the bonds will be callable, but I think we would probably have a 7-year call on this. So if that person donated within the first 7 years, we'd set that aside and call years 8 through 15. But no, there's not a premium on that. Excellent question.
Any other questions for Mr. Hoheisel? Well, Mike, thank you for your time.
Well, I apologize. I was hoping to be up there and forgot that I have committed to being in Morris, Minnesota in December of last year when we were setting up their referendum for August. So I am out here for 2 days. So it would have been nicer to be up north, but I'm still kind of in God's country out west. So thank you all. And if you do have questions, get to Mark and Lisa. I'd be more than happy. Or of course, you got Luke and Jackie and Greg, Normal Resources. We'll get you whatever you need.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, everybody.
Or any discussion? We are not approving or not approving this.
You get the working session.
It's just a working session.
Okay, so just because I came in at the end when Bob was kind of getting his synopsis there, which is what I understood to be at the last meeting. So if you don't do this, you still can appreciate the savings, but you still have to pay for the improvements, correct?
Right. And the improvements would be paid out of the savings of our bid package. Of which we hope that we'll have. And then the savings, the O&M savings and other savings that we have in here. Utility savings and O&M savings. Somehow our new business manager is gonna have to disseminate what those savings are. And when let's say he does disseminate 165,000 in year one, then it goes into our operating budget as revenue.
So we still would be paying for it with the original, with the original referendum, with the hope that we have enough savings to cover all those projects that absolutely have to be done without the guarantee of APEX with the energy savings.
Right,
And then the other money may or may not be used for energy savings or other projects could be used for just whatever. But if you do this, then you know that the money that you use or you're saving is going to be paying for those improvements.
Correct.
So it's really an apples to apples switch. You know that that money's not gonna be squandered somewhere else on something else. It's gonna absolutely pay to get these improvements done.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right,
Well, the improvements would be done either way.
right.
Yeah.
But you still be paying for them with the bond, but you aren't gonna be getting the guarantee. And then the savings that you're getting is literally taking money that we're saving to pay for the exact thing that is making the savings. So to me, that makes sense to me to a certain extent, because I like using the savings from the energy that we're gonna get to pay for the new improvement, as opposed to hoping that, we're gonna have enough savings with the
Remember,
bid.
this is an alternate. We don't have to do this at all, which would probably be unwise,
Unwise, yeah,
but I'm just playing devil's
right,
advocate.
right, right. So, okay, no, that's how I understood it before, I just didn't know if I missed anything.
So Apex is saying that they're gonna guarantee X on the savings. Let's just say for argument, it's 150,000. And we only get to 130. They make up the difference.
If Apex is still around. That,
First thing we're gonna do is find his address.
No offense, Greg, no offense. I certainly
We go
would
down
want
there.
in our contract to claim first position.
You know,
So,
okay, I got a question, but it's on a different subject kind of, so maybe not.
okay. If there are no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the working session.
Motion.
A support.
Motion by Director Raha, support by Director Ondas. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, time is 4:57.